The basic FlipBooKit helps you make a flipbook that you can crank by hand to have a continuous animation. But what if you want it to keep going? With the FlipBooKit Moto, you can make your animation motorized so that it goes on as long as you like. Here's what you'll need: a standard FlipBooKit box, a motor upgrade kit, a bag of rivets, a spindle bag, and a set of cards. You'll also need either wire strippers, wire cutters, or a pair of scissors, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a pair of pliers or even a pair of tweezers, some masking tape, a craft knife, and an item to poke out holes. In this case, I've used a brush. This is the motor upgrade kit. Let's take a look at what's inside the bag. There's a gear motor with a JST connector that we'll cut off later, a battery pack for 2 AA batteries, a switch, and a bag of other parts including a pulley belt, a piece of double-sided tape, a pulley wheel, 3 wire nuts, and a couple screws for the motor. And that's everything we need. This video assumes that you've already put together the basic FlipBooKit. If you need help with that, check out my basic assembly video. It includes tips and tricks, as well as thoughts about how to help a child with the process. Grab the switch. We're going to hang on to this twist tie for later, the motor, and the battery holder. You'll notice that these wires are insulated with red, black, or green plastic. This is to keep the electricity where we want it and not accidentally bumping into other conductive elements. Be aware, it's important to avoid having the 2 wires from the battery pack touching each other, as the batteries will get hot enough to melt through the battery pack. To connect the different elements together, we'll need to expose a little bit more wire at the ends. There are a couple of ways to do this. Cut off any connectors from the ends of the wires and separate them. You can trim the wires down. There's much more slack than you need, but don't make them any less than 6 inches, or your electronics will be difficult to install in the box. We'll strip off the length of the wire nuts, about 1/2 inch, from both wires on all 3 elements. The easiest way to strip wires is with a neat tool called a wire stripper. This one has different sized holes. You place a wire into the correctly sized hole, squeeze, and it cuts through just the plastic cover and allows you to pull it off the wire. Then twist the strands of the wire 4 or 5 times to keep them together. The holes ensure that you don't cut too far and snip the wire too. If, however, you don't have a wire stripper, you're not out of luck. You can use regular wire cutters or scissors if you're careful. Place the wire between the scissor blades and very gently squeeze them. Sometimes twisting helps, just until you slice into the insulating plastic, not the wire. Cutting too little and going back for another go is better than cutting too much. Once you can see the copper wire, hold the scissors so they're pinching the insulation and pull toward the end of the wire. It may take a few tries or additional tiny cuts with the scissors. Fortunately, there's a whole lot of wire to practice on. If you've never stripped a wire before, make sure to practice before trying on the short ones. It's a learned skill. The parts we just stripped the wires for are the main elements of this circuit. The word circuit comes from the same place as the word circle, and there's a reason for that. The electricity needs to flow in through one wire and out through the other into all three parts, so we'll set this up to look like one big circle. All the switch does, though it's hidden inside so you can't see it, is break the continuous circle and make the electricity stop flowing. We'll connect the wires as follows, and this is important to make the motor turn the correct way. Black from the switch connects to black or green from the motor. Black from the battery connects to red from the switch. And red from the battery connects to red from the motor. Line the ends of the pairs up together. Sometimes crossing them and twisting them once helps. We'll secure and insulate these connections using the wire nuts. Just place the wires all the way into the opening of the wire nut and twist the nut until it's tight. Repeat with the other two connections. You can put the circuit elements into the box first and wire them up afterwards, but I'm showing you creating the circuit outside the box because it makes troubleshooting the circuit easier, and we can test it before we put it inside. Pop in 2 AA batteries and test it. Great! Now our circuit is ready to go in the box. We don't need the batteries in for the next part. When you're putting together the FlipBooKit, there are a number of holes you have to punch out. You might have noticed a few that you didn't use. On the side with the knob, there's a hole for the switch, and 1 large and 2 small ones for the motor. On the back is a large panel. We'll be putting the circuit in through here, so I'm going to open this one first. You might need a craft knife or pocket knife to help punch the perforations, especially if you have an older version. Please be careful if you do. Push on the panel to free it. Then, pressing just above the panel will let you reach under to pull it out. You might need to make a crease at the bottom to fold the back panel down. Poke out the circles on the side. I used the end of a brush and a craft knife to help here. You can use a pencil or any other small tool you have on hand. And we're ready to install the circuit. Let's take a look at the switch. From the top down of the threaded barrel, it has 1 outer nut, a switch plate, a couple additional rings, and at the bottom there's another nut. To hold it in place, the switch plate and top nut go outside, and the lower nut and those additional rings go inside the box. Take off the top nut and switch plate, then make sure the lower nut is screwed down close to the bottom. You'll notice that one side of the threaded barrel has a notch in it. This is the off position side. The ring with a little protruding grabber tab aligns with this notch and needs to be the top one of the 2 additional rings, with the tab pointing up. When the top nut is tightened, this tab will dig into the box and keep it from spinning around. Flip the lever to the on position, toward the black wire and away from the notch. Then reach inside the box and push the lever up through the hole, keeping it pointing toward the right. Now we'll put the switch plate and top nut back on. You can use your fingers to get it started, but before tightening it fully, you'll want to line up the plate. Get it in place with the on side to the right, then tape it down with some masking tape to hold it in place. And then you can finish tightening the nut. To make it really secure, use pliers or a wrench, or even a pair of tweezers. Peel off the tape, and your switch is ready to go. Let's take a look at the motor. There are 4 holes next to the spinning shaft. 2 of them have screws in them already. The 2 without screws we need to line up with the little holes in the box, and then use the 2 included screws to attach it. It can be challenging to get everything aligned within the box so the screws will go in the right place. So I like to line the flat part of the motor shaft up with one of the empty screw holes. Placing one of the screws in the hole before the motor is helpful. You'll be shifting the motor around inside until you feel the screw dip into the hole. Grab your screwdriver and tighten it most of the way. You don't want it too tight or you won't be able to adjust for the other side. Repeat the process, inserting the screw and shifting the motor around until the screw moves. Then tighten both screws. Next comes the battery pack. We'll attach this to the inside of the flap using the included double-sided foam tape square. Peel one side and press it securely to the back of the battery pack. As you can see, the motor is blocking the left side, so we'll put it on the right with the extruding wires going toward the left. Peel off the other side of the tape and press the battery pack securely in place. Remember that twist tie from before? It can be helpful to wrap up all that slack wire before pushing it into the box. Insert your batteries. You'll probably want the switch in the off position at this point. The smaller pulley wheel goes on that motor shaft poking outside the box. Pushing up from the bottom of the motor will make it easier to press on the wheel. Now it's time for that stretchable pulley belt. Put it into the groove on the side of the larger crank wheel, then stretch it so you can put the other end into the groove of the pulley wheel we just installed. Flip the switch, and there we go. Your FlipBooKit Moto is complete. What can you do with a flipbook that runs continuously? Check out our website, Instagram, and Facebook pages to see what other people are doing with their FlipBooKits. Have fun. Thanks for watching.